When OT calls songs from 2001 old, are you serious? 2001 was 21 years ago. That song could drink in America, legally. Don't feel old, but whatever you remember from 2001 is retro now. You remember 10 years ago when people were having 90s parties? Do you know what they're having now, 10 years later? 2000s parties. Some people are just discovering RAR XD for the first time and cosplaying as it. Some people just found out what the random phase of the internet was, and they're cosplaying as it. The young people refer to Nickelback as dad rock. Remember when CCR was dad rock? Not CCR anymore. Nickelback is dad rock now. Do you remember Avril Lavigne? They're now saying, hey, my mom's favorite band when she was young was Avril Lavigne. Remember when we all thought it was a cash grab that Disney was remaking Lion King? You realize that movie, when they decided to make it, was more than a quarter century old? 25 years later, they decided to remake the movie, and you went, this is just a cash grab. 25 years later. Do you remember the movie Euro Trip? They had flip phones. Flip phones, my friends. Everyone in here who had a flip phone is old. Kids today grew up with iPhones when they were toddlers. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Welcome to OT Gives Chat Existential Crises. Y'all wanted to hang out with me. Remember when they remade Aladdin?
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Remember when we all thought it was a cash grab? We thought, hey, the original Aladdin exists. Why do they need to remake it? Remember that? How old is Aladdin? Shall we check? Are you ready for this? 30 years ago. Aladdin is 30 years old. Do you remember when the live action Aladdin came out? Remember how recent that was? Remember how recently the live action Aladdin came out? Do you remember that? 3 years ago. The live action Aladdin came out 3 years ago.
Oh, that's hot.
Live action Aladdin came out before lockdown. OT calling out the gray hairs in chat. My friends, my beard is not immune from the sands of time passing through the hourglass. I feel you. Shall we talk about Frozen? You know how we think it's a kid's movie? Do you remember Frozen? How kids were singing, let it go, let it go. Remember that? Let's see when Frozen was released. Frozen was released in 2013. So if someone was 10 years old when that film came out, they're 19 now. They're an adult, and that is something they liked from their childhood, and that is something that came out when you were an adult. Some people are turning into sand in chat right now as I watch. Let's see when Gangnam Style came out.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Gangnam Style!
You know how epically that song slaps? Are you ready for this? 2012. 10 years ago. You ready for that? Hang on, I got something for you here. Now, nobody feel old, okay? Remember when everyone and their job was telling them, oh, we have to hop on this new internet trend. Let's all do the Harlem Shake. That's what the kids of today are doing. Harlem Shake released in 2012. 10 years ago. Do you know what show ended this year? Do you remember Arthur? Do you remember that cute cartoon show Arthur from when you were a kid? Did you know it's not on TV anymore? Did you know it ended this year? It came out in 1996, 26 years ago. Arthur came out 26 years ago. Wow. A quarter century ago plus a year. Now, I've got one that I think is going to freak everyone out. What year do you think Rugrats came out in? 1991. Do you know what year Rugrats ended in? 2006. If you remember Rugrats and watching it as a kid, you probably haven't been a kid since before 2006. How long ago was 2006, my friends? 16 years ago. Do y'all remember Jennifer's Body? Remember when that movie came out when you were in school? And you watched Jennifer's Body and you thought, wow, all these fashion trends, these are so cool. I wish I could dress and look like that. Remember that? Jennifer's Body came out in 2009, 13 years ago. I'm noticing some people say Lord of the Rings. Now, we all know that Lord of the Rings did come out quite a while ago. Do we remember how long ago? I'll give you a hint. Elijah Wood had his 18th birthday on the set of Lord of the Rings. How old do you think Elijah Wood is now? Elijah Wood, the actor that looks like will be young forever, is 41 years old. Dust. How old is Monty Python, my friend? If you're asking how old Monty Python is, I'm surprised you're on the internet. Titanic. Do we know when Titanic came out? Titanic? IMDb. I'm going to take a quick guess at this. Was it 1999? It was 1997. Remember when that movie came out that was purported to just like change 3D cinema forever? Remember when it was made by the same director as the Titanic? When did that come out? Let's see. 2009. That's when the first iPhone came out. I'm going to do a quick sound, okay, everybody? If you recognize this sound, I want you to type the next lyric that comes to mind, okay? Ready? Some. When did that song come out? 1999. Everyone who's writing this right now is remembering a song from 1999 that was also featured in a film called Shrek. When did Shrek come out? 2001. Shrek is 21 years old. Somebody is old, and it's all of you. Do you remember Pocahontas? Sandwiches, sandwiches, barely even human. 1995. Pocahontas came out in 1995. Oh my goodness, when did Mulan come out? Remember when we thought Disney was just milking it, trying to remake a movie? When did that first Mulan come out? Oh, 1998. My goodness. Snow White or Dumbo? No, okay, no. If you remember Snow White or Dumbo, you are fully aware that you need to cash out your 401k soon. You know. Remember that song that everybody makes fun of? You know that one? Look at this photograph. Remember that one? Look at this graph. When did that come out? Let's see. 2005. Do you know what middle age on TikTok is? Anyone 22 or older.
To the older generation on TikTok, meaning like people born in the late 90s.
In the End by Linkin Park. My goodness. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a number of people that haven't absolutely committed the lyrics to memory. But that song did come out 22 years ago. That song could almost rent a car in America. You want to talk about Harry Potter? Daniel Radcliffe. You know how old he is now? Let's find out. Daniel Radcliffe is 32. What an old man. And he, when the first Harry Potter film came out, I believe was 11, which means every kid from Harry Potter is now an adult who can drive. Some of them are even balding. Holy fudge! How tall is Daniel Radcliffe? Everybody right now, how tall is Daniel Radcliffe? Oh my gosh, I could fit him in my pocket. Daniel Radcliffe is 5'5". I'm like a foot taller than Daniel Radcliffe. Do you know how much you shrink every year as you get older? Remember telling people, oh, it's okay, I'm 5'6", that's average. Are you ready to get old and shrink? How short will you get before you stop getting short? Uh-oh. When 5'2" will turn into 5'1", will turn into 4 foot something. Do you remember when Lord of the Rings came out? We talked about this. We talked about how old Elijah Wood was. Do you remember how recent The Hobbit coming out feels? When did The Hobbit come out? The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey came out in 2012. 2012. 10 years ago. I remember when the world was supposed to end in 2012. I was in school in 2012. When do you think Frozen 2 came out? Remember how it feels kind of recent? Would you expect it's 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago? Now, I saw a couple people mention How to Train Your Dragon. How to Train Your Dragon did come out a minute ago. Do you know how old the actor is that plays Hiccup? Jay Baruchel, who just recently had a birthday, is 40 years old. Hiccup is now 40 years old. How to Train Your Dragon came out in what year? 2010. Sorry, friends. That was a hot minute ago, wasn't it? How to Train Your Dragon 2? 2014! Now, a lot of you do remember that phase of the internet when everyone was obsessed with vampires and, you know, putting on a lot of makeup and being like, oh, I'm reading the books where the two hands are holding the apple. Do you remember that? Do you remember the books where the two hands are holding the apple? Remember that? Twilight came out in 2008. Vampires do not sparkle. This is the skin of a killer, Bella. You wouldn't like me when I'm shiny. Remember that time when late teen apocalyptic movies were good? Maybe not good, but like all the rage. Do you remember when Maze Runner came out? 2014. And that one wasn't as big, but was helped to be made popular by The Hunger Games, which came out in 2012. Skyrim just hit its 10-year anniversary. Halo is 21 years old. God of War is older than some adults today. Pogs? Pogs. Anyone here who remembers having a Pog mat either really enjoyed going to the secondhand store, or they're exposed to the cardboard discs that came out in 1996. Okay, who's a fan of psychological horror and horror films in general? Human Centipede came out in what year? 2010. 12 years ago. Would you like to know what's worse than that? Hostel came out in 2005. 17 years ago. When did PewDiePie do his very first video on camera? 2013. He looks so young. He looks so happy. I remember when he was yelling at games back in 2012. Well, he ain't that old. If you're older than PewDiePie, you're old. PewDiePie's old. He's like 30 something now, isn't he? I know it's been a minute since I've streamed. I appreciate all of you remembering me and wanting to hang out. That meant a lot to me. I've had a weird time with all of you today, but it was so much fun. Bye, everybody. Bye.